Okay, let's get today's conversation around the latest inflation, sweet inflation numbers for Nigeria for the month of February going. Of course, we talk about the presidential enabling business environment. The government does says it's done quite a lot over the last 3 years, but we need to ramp up and get on that pathways to industrialization. Let's continue this with Vincent Nwani, who is an investment and business consultant. Is live in the studio with us at our headquarters. Thank you, Vincent. Let's get this going. When we look at the last 4 years of the Buhari administration, largely around infrastructure, and say, look, we've done so much, we beat our chest. Yes. How do we put industrialization or industrializing the economy within the infrastructure that the administration is working on and looking to achieve a lot more in that regard?
We've not done very well as far as industrialization is concerned, not just over the last 4 years, but over the years as a country, you know. And if you look at the manufacturing or industrial sector contribution to GDP, well less than 10%, you find out that we have not done very well. And everybody knows the reason why we've not done very well. That the, can I say that the brain box to open up our industrialization sector is dead.
And where's the brain box?
Power, electricity. That is where we're having problem. 4,000 megawatts, less than 3,000 distributed. That is just the amount of energy needed in one airport in Europe, maybe Amsterdam airport in Holland. How do you expand your industrial sector? So when we are celebrating the gains we've made from ease of doing business, from moving it from 169 out of 185 countries to 146, that's good news. And our target is to be at 100 2020, just a year, which means we're going to move 46 places in between 2019 and 2020. And I'm saying that it is now time for us to leave those soft areas. Ease of registering business, we need to move to those hard areas. And what is the major hard areas? That power must be connected to these plants, to this factory. We need to clean up.
Does that mean we need to rethink our energy strategy and policies? Do you think we need to tie that with our industrialization program agenda? Looks like they're existing in silos currently. But again, if you look at what the central bank, and this is trying to get this clear, we're setting up special economic zones, for example. We're looking at, for example, the textile that the central bank announced about a week ago, that, for example, in Kano and Kaduna states, they'll set up what you call textile clusters that will allow these industries, instead of every textile company in Kano, Kaduna, to try to get its own energy or power, that you put them in a particular area, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 10, perhaps 20, and just power them from a single source.
I think that's a way to go.
Do you think this is something we can work on?
That's the dismantling or disaggregating our grid system.
Yes.
A national grid system is the way to go.
For industries.
Exactly, and I'm happy that our law, our regulation is now beginning to support that model. If you look at our GDP, of course, GDP is growing about 2.3% now, but the manufacturing sector is still in recession. And it's been in recession almost the last 10 years, growing at -5%. So dealing with power is just the way to go. And this is a year we're still talking about Nigeria signing or not signing the AFTA agreement, Africa and the Continental Free Trade Zone. How do we compete in that agreement if our factories, our industries doesn't have power? And if there is no rail to move raw materials from the ports to the factory and from the finished goods from the factories to the market across the country. So these are two areas that are very critical. Electricity to the factory in a cluster model, and also making sure that those clusters have the right mode of transportation, and this is real, to connect raw materials to these factories and move finished goods to the market. Until we get that done.
Do you think we're having more of infrastructure conversation than industrialization conversation?
Everywhere that industrialization have thrived in the world, infrastructure is what is the backbone. I use the word brain box, that the brain box that should activate our industrialization dreams and aspiration is dead over the last decade, more than 2 decades. And we need to, if we are really serious, if we want to move from words of mouth to action and results, we need to do those hard works.
We have quite a lot of work to do, and this is, you talk about, yes, we're doing a bit of a soft on social investment program. You said we need to move to what you call heavy duties, as it were. But again, we need to look at sectors. We can't start building aeroplane or spacecraft.
Well, we can build a tire for the aeroplane. If we're serious, Dunlop left the country, Michelin operating skeletally. We can't build a aeroplane because of the technology and all of those things to supply to Boeing or Airbus. But we can tar the road because we have the bitumen and the rocks in the middle belt to break them and tire the road. We need what do we need to construct?
We can build the seats inside the aircraft. We can build the parts.
Exactly.
And let Airbus and Boeing do the rest.
We can lay the tracks for railway with our steel industry in Ajokuta, and we have the rock, we have everything, and get maybe China to or whoever to supply the wagon and do the management for rail. So I think that we need to think. I think we have even gone away from thinking, but we need to do, because all these documents, all this thinking have been done, well documented, but we need to move and leapfrog.
Sectors. I'm looking at sectors.
Sectors, we talk about textile.
Because this is where I'm looking for jobs, because we have a population that is teeming and consuming like grasshoppers or like locusts, leaving nothing in their trail, because it looks like every GDP we produce, the population just suck it up. So
the current administration that is ending on May 29,
yes.
During this administration, 4 years, I've added about 24 million Nigerians. New Nigerians, whatever, and that is the net of the birth rate, the net migration, and subtract the death rate. 24 million people. 24 million people, it's already a very big country. And this administration will also earn another 24 million people. At the end of by May 2023, what are we doing? One of the sectors that will absorb these people into jobs is the milling sector, whether it is flour mills, the textiles. When textile was booming about 25 years ago, over 1 million Nigerians were employed. I was born close to a village in Asaba. We have Asaba textile mills. My uncles, cousins, they were working there. That textile employ almost 400,000 people. When they close by 2, and they do 3 shifts. What closed that textile mill is power, and it's moribund today. So we now, CBN have said yank off importation of textiles from the FX market, which is a good intention to maybe reactivate
and say, okay, fine, we're going to support cotton producers because you need a primary product.
So dedicated way of instigating funding to cotton farmers, to importers of machineries that will boost that sector is very, very important. But more than important is that the factories must be connected to light. And doing that, you need, like what you said, upgrade solution. That is the way to go.
So if you look at textiles, and the textile is a good story, what other sectors you're looking at? We'll talk about agriculture, and we can't overstretch the importance of agriculture because of very huge value chain right there in sitting down there. You talk about the mills, every mills, whether it is steel rolling mills, anything
rice
that
mill?
is mill, yes,
yeah.
Rice mill,
yeah.
Yes. So you think these are low-hanging fruit sectors, as it were, that will power our industrialization or will fast-track it?
They are low-hanging fruits in a way, but why it is not a high-hanging fruit is because power remains a concern. It should be a low-hanging fruit to absorb our teeming population, unemployed youths. Over the last 4 years, we've seen unemployment rate moving from 8.3% to over 23%. Now, so this is a waiting disaster. And somebody said yesterday that Nigerian population is now moving from an asset, a potential, to liability. And the only way this liability will not crystallize on us is to begin to look at labor-intensive industries to absorb our youths. So
when you want to industrialize, the government spend much of its fiscal funding, as it were, whatever borrowing, to ramp up on infrastructure and all of that. But industrialization, government cannot build every factory. And that we all know. So the private sector has to come in here.
That's true. Government shouldn't even build any factory to start with. Provide an enabling environment, and that enabling environment is beyond regulation and policy. Infrastructure. Those are the things government, security, those are the things private sector need. And once those things are there, you know, private sector, they know where the money is and they will move in. But for private sector to come and the first thing you're thinking about is how to get power, how to lay the roads, how to make sure there's security. Thinking for government, doing for government, you find out that this money will go elsewhere, whether these investors are Nigerians, whether they are non-Nigerians. See, it's a globalization. Every country is competing for one source of money, and that is FDI. Until we get our ass right, this FDI will continue to get just a small fraction of what we shouldn't get. At this time, we're now competing, Nigeria is now competing between Ghana, who gets a more, Ghana is less than 30 million people. We're talking about 200 million people. So it is time that Nigeria take a seat as a true heavyweight and power, superpower of Africa. And doing so is that we need to look for money. We need to look for money.
Where do you think this money will come from?
And I'm happy,
we're looking for money.
And I'm happy we're having a new administration. An administration that have been there for the last 4 years taking over. So they've learned from what they've done. It's just about building from where they are before.
And perhaps what they haven't done.
And what they've not done. And some of the truths they had during the just concluded campaign. Because during the, somebody may not tell you to your face, but now the administration have had it clearly, people boldly, and said, these are the areas you've not done well. These are the areas you've done well. Building on those areas they've not done well, looking for the money. We need to look for the money. 45 billion US dollars as reserve is a joke. It's a joke because the challenge is that we are not earning effects. We need to think out of the box. What do we do with our national assets? What do we do with our national assets? Do we continue to maintain them moribund with all the bureaucracy? It is time to begin to look at a very transparent and innovative way to deal with our assets so that the money we're spending to reactivate them, we don't spend, and they will attract
privatization,
liberalization. These are some of the ways we'll be thinking, because in terms of borrowing, we are almost hitting the ceiling. 40–45% servicing debt, not paying back the principal, but paying interest. Nigeria owing both internal, domestic and external debt, about 73 billion US dollars. That's also a time bomb. So we need to be more innovative, and probably maybe one of the lessons to the incoming administration, which is to look for the money. There will be need to maybe sort of a team.
Yeah, we need to look for the money, and you just are taking that up about the president also needs to find the men that will make this work.
And hitting the ground running from day one. So put the right people in the right place.
What type of men are you looking at, and what areas of the administration do you think we should have these folks who should be leading the pathways to industrialization?
Heads of key agencies that relate to industries. We need to look at who are there. Are they politicians? I'm not saying they shouldn't be politicians, but not politicians that play a frontline role. You know, these should be professionals with track and proven track records. You know, and also make sure that they are appointed. Even before May 29, we know we begin to analyze them and see who is coming. You know, we don't have the luxury of 6 months post inauguration to know our ministers and to know the heads of our key agencies, ministries, and departments. No. I believe that this time is quite different, and probably the confirmation speed will also be more different.
The economic team, I just want us to find out where are the key MDAs you're talking about here. Which of them? Ministry of Trade and Industry?
Ministry of Trade and Industry, Ministry of Finance, and key agencies under Ministry of Finance. We know them, FRS, of course, they are doing well, expanding the tax base and doing what they are doing with some little recommendation for them there. Customs, NPA, you know, these are key agencies. There are so many. Some of them are even regulators. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, because of our interest in getting power going. Yes. We need to think very well to make sure that the men...
So agencies at NEPC, NIPC, you're talking about Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development as well?
Exactly. Even the key industrial regulators, which is SUN and NAFDAC, we need to probably add some oxygen in those...
into those agencies.
Exactly.
Because we need to get this industrialization pathways. We need to get on that highway. We're not there yet, really. So, aside from the team, how much do you think the administration will be able to achieve within this next 4 years?
I think that question...
What would you like to see?
That question, they will be in the best place. The administration itself will be in the best
But
place.
what would you like to see?
But I believe that if they have learned from the last 4 years and also take some truth from the message from the electionary campaign, it depends on what they do and what the action and inaction of this administration.
What would you like to see, specifically speaking? Because we have a few things on ground.
Yeah.
We have some special economic zones. We have what you call the various Lekki free trade zones and whatever. Then you have special economic zones in the north, central, down south. So it looks like we have a few brick and mortars there. But
for this administration, I want to see very quickly, maybe over the next 6 months, to resolve this issue of fuel subsidy under recovery. Something we need to be clear about subsidy or the recovery of our recovery and all of those all of those questions. We want to see ports that are working. Nigerian ports are not working compared to where we should be. You know, in the ease of doing business metric, we're number 181 or 183 out of 185. That is even our worst ease of doing business indicator. Something needs to happen. The Niger Delta ports, the eastern ports need to become active again, and the traffic and all the Apapa, Tinkan Island issues need to be quickly resolved. We want to see an administration that will be less of welfarist posture to something like a market, a market-based,
market-driven administration.
Exactly, market. We really want to see, and again, the ERGP will really need to understand where we are. Is that document still effective? How much have we achieved over the last 2 years, since 2017 when it was launched? And next year, 2019, of course, how much do we need to maybe have ERGP 2? You know?
No, we're still having ERGP 1.0 with 2017, 2020 calendar timeline attached to the bottom page. So
if this administration pick one indicator and say Nigerians, about 96 million, are now very extremely poor, and that when they will be handing over to the new administration 4 years' time, on May 29, 2023, that less than 50 million Nigerians will be reported poor. I think that's a good matrix to measure them with. And for that to happen, a lot of things, diverse reforms in key sectors will need to happen, you know, for that to happen.
So in terms of moving forward, do you think the private sector is poised to support the administration?
We are always poised to support any administration all the time because we don't have any other economy. You know, we keep faith in this in the economy, in our market. You know, so we are very ready. All we want to see is not body language this time, but key action, credible action. Once we understand that this is where the government is going, we are faced to.
Well, one
comply.
of the things of the Buhari's administration in the first 4 years was that the administration was not disposed to spending money, whether that is true or not. Infrastructure, yes, you see massive spending there, but again, it looks like, well, doesn't want to spend much. So there are reports that a number of MDAs don't get as much as required budgetary allocation and all of that. So do you think we need to rethink that as well?
You spend what you have. The same administration also came out in the early days to say there's no money. Empty treasury.
Yeah, so you can't spend what you don't have. But again, you've got to put oil and fuel in the engine to get the car moving.
You remember that I said that this administration needs to think a little bit strategically this time, to know that their job is not to spend money only, but to look for the what? Money. I don't know whether it's going to be a team, whether it's going to be a body to set up to go and look for innovative ways of generating money in hard currency. If that is done, of course, we'll be able to settle the challenges CBN is having to exert themselves as an autonomous regulatory authority to keep our price levels as stable as they should be, because this price level we are seeing is because of shortage and volatility of foreign exchange reserve.
So we need a bit of the administration need a bit of a team,
exactly,
to find
the money. They need to find the money beyond
not necessarily borrowing. Not necessarily Eurobond.
Borrowing is fine, but of course it's a.
Yeah, you said we're just having it almost here, but again, we need to find this money within the economy, maybe from outside.
both outside the economy and within the economy. I mentioned liberalization.
Okay.
You know, when the GSM happened, I think early 2000. That's liberalization.
Okay. Maybe we need to find another sector like telecoms,
and open
build some licenses and make some money. Thank you. Thank you for helping us find where. Talk to us where we can find some money and get on the pathways to industrialization. Vincent, one investment and business consultant. Back to Market Street after this break.